She lived 28 years of sacrifice, taking care of her family, putting all her dreams on the back burner just to give wings to the man she loved. But all those sacrifices collapsed on the day her daughter graduated. When her husband Mark stood in front of the crowd and announced their divorce, publicly revealing his affair with a younger woman. But Olivia did not cry, did not scream, but smiled, a cold, powerful smile. Her life, though betrayed and hurt, was never over. She did not let the pain swallow her up, but decided to stand up, to take back everything she deserved, from finances to freedom. With a sophisticated plan and unexpected strategy, Olivia not only regained her career, but also found her faith in love and life. But her transformation is not just a story of recovery, but a journey of rising strongly from the ruins of herself. And while Mark is facing a humiliating defeat, Olivia steps into a new future, free, happy, and stronger than ever. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel to follow Olivia's unexpected journey, where she not only regains power, but also proves that nothing is impossible when you rise from betrayal. Shocking statement. Olivia and Mark were celebrating their daughter Hannah's graduation at a restaurant, a memorable and happy occasion where all eyes were on the future. The atmosphere was warm and filled with laughter. Everything seemed perfect. But suddenly, Mark stood up in the middle of the party, still holding a glass of champagne, and announced that he wanted to start a new life, leaving Olivia after 28 years of marriage. The whole room fell silent as if time had stopped. Mark had not only admitted that he had been having an affair with Michelle, a younger woman, but had also publicly announced their divorce on their daughter's big day. All eyes were on Olivia, as if they were waiting for a storm, a dramatic confrontation. But Olivia was not what they expected. She did not rush into an argument, did not break down in tears, did not scream to express her anger. She stood there right in the middle of the crowd, calm and steady as a rock. A soft, unforced smile spread across Olivia's lips as she looked straight at Mark. "Congratulations on your honesty," she said, her voice strangely calm, as if the words were not the end of a marriage, but something not worth wasting time on. The room was still in shock, but Olivia didn't need more. She had said enough. This was the culmination of the calm she had learned all her life. When everything fell apart, when people expected her to fall, but she stood firm, unwavering. In that look was the determination of a woman who had endured too long. For the past 28 years, Olivia had been a wife, a mother, always standing behind Mark, sacrificing everything to raise a family. She had buried her own dreams, devoted herself to maintaining a perfect family, even though the seeds of doubt about Mark had long been planted in her heart. But when the moment came, when the truth could no longer be hidden, Olivia refused to be a victim in this story. Instead, she chose to stand up, not for revenge, but to free herself from the burden of the past years. She did not allow that betrayal to destroy her pride. She knew that what Mark did could not change the past, but it would determine her future. And Olivia would not let anyone, especially the man she had given her heart to, continue to control her destiny. As she stood there, steadfast amid the curious and surprised eyes, Olivia felt a strange sense of liberation. Each step she took, gentle yet strong, was toward the place where she was no longer a part of Mark's life. This calmness was not weakness. It was the inner strength that Olivia had nurtured over the years, a strength that no one could take away. Amidst the whispers and bewildered looks, Olivia walked out of the restaurant, her head held high, as if she were finally free. The door closed behind her, but it also closed a chapter in her life that she would never return to. And so, this ending was just the beginning of a new chapter in Olivia's life. Prediction and investigation. After leaving the restaurant, Olivia stepped outside, feeling the new air, the freedom, as if she had escaped from a narrow cage that she had held the key to for so many years, not daring to open. She felt no pain, no tears, only a strange sense of relief, as if everything was being pulled away from her. That feeling was not an escape, but a release. A chance for her to start over, to live her own life, no longer bound by lies and betrayals. However, at this moment, Olivia realized that her daughter, Hannah, was still in the restaurant, unable to accept the truth. Her face was full of confusion, her eyes shining but filled with indescribable confusion and pain. Olivia turned around, walking towards the parked car, but her heart was back to where her daughter was standing. She could not let Hannah's important day be ruined by an unworthy father. She did not allow her daughter's sadness to overwhelm the joy and pride she had worked so hard to build for Hannah over the years. Olivia pulled her daughter's hand into her arms, comforting her like a firm hug. Although her eyes did not shed any tears, but with each breath, Olivia understood that this was her way of showing strength to Hannah. Olivia did not let her love for her daughter overwhelm her. She knew that this truth would be a huge shock to Hannah, but she could not let her drown in that pain forever. This party was not Mark's, nor was it about betrayal. It was about her daughter, about her pride and achievements. Olivia decided that instead of being dragged into the past, she would move on, would start a new journey without Mark, without the long nights of restlessness, without any more meaningless sacrifices. Step by step, she would go through and find herself again. The suspicions about Mark had been there for the past year. The cold looks, the lies that she could no longer deny. Olivia felt clearly, deep down, that the lies had kept her from feeling at ease, from sleeping well for a long time. And now, she would not let herself continue to be hurt. She would face the truth that Mark had hidden for so many years. Olivia began to reopen the family financial reports, searching for every small trace that Mark had deliberately hidden. She discovered secret transfers to accounts she had never heard of. Each line of data appeared, like a warning, like a challenge. You can't run away forever, Mark. The clear signs of betrayal made her even more determined to strengthen her plan of revenge, not out of hatred, but out of the respect she deserved. Olivia not only wants to break down the walls that Mark has built around her life, but also wants to find back what he has taken away, her dreams, the plans that she has sacrificed for years to take care of her family. Olivia's resilience is not a simple revenge, but a strong affirmation of her right to live and her own self-determination. She will not allow anyone, including Mark, to continue to control her life. She has lived in his shadow for too long, but now, Olivia is ready to step into the light. The price of betrayal is not only a broken marriage, but also the things she will do to take back what is hers. And this time, no one can stand in her way. Discovery exposed. Olivia was not surprised to find the strange signs in the family accounts, but what she discovered next made her heart stop. Mark, her husband of 28 years, had been secretly transferring money into a personal account for the past year, and he had also spent the money on expensive gifts for Michelle, the young woman he had betrayed Olivia with. Meals at fancy restaurants, expensive trips, and even the beach villas he planned to buy, all paid for with the money they had built together over the years. Feeling like a punch in the stomach, Olivia looked at the transaction copies. Every number, every amount, the evidence was clear and undeniable. Mark's betrayal was not only emotional, but also contempt for the assets they had built together. While Mark lavishly spent on Michelle, Olivia had to patiently save every penny to pay for her daughter's tuition and maintain her stressful job at her financial firm. She had spent years worrying about her family, not missing any small details in her daughter's life, but now she realized that all her efforts were just part of a game that Mark had been playing with her for a long time. This betrayal was not just an emotional deception, but a deception of everything she had worked hard to build, a trust that had been torn apart. But Olivia did not let her anger take over. She was in no rush to confront Mark right now, because she knew that every action needed to be carefully calculated. What she needed was a plan not just to deal with, but to completely end this life of lies. Olivia spent the next few days not holding grudges, but formulating a detailed, calculated plan. A plan that would make Mark face the inevitable consequences, not just financially, but for what he had done to her. Every piece of information, every piece of evidence, every call to her lawyer, Olivia carefully recorded in the small notebook she carried with her, a reminder of the patience and strength she was slowly gathering. Olivia's revenge was not impulsive or rash, but the revenge of a woman who had waited too long to find herself again. She had lived with betrayal for too long, and now she would not let Mark control her life another day. She would not give him the opportunity to destroy her family again. With each step, Olivia not only regained control of her life, but also took back what was rightfully hers. She had been preparing for this day for a long time, and now everything would have to face the undeniable truth. Legal strategy and financial independence. Olivia is no longer just the betrayed wife in this story. She is a strong, determined woman, and it is time to not only end her dead marriage, but also protect herself. With everything she has endured, Olivia decides that Mark will no longer control her life. She begins consulting with a lawyer, preparing financial evidence that Mark did not expect to be discovered. The truth about the money Mark transferred to his personal account becomes the weapon that Olivia will use against him. These financial traces are not only an emotional betrayal, but also a violation of the terms of the prenuptial agreement they signed from the beginning. Olivia carefully reviews each page of the contract, and an interesting thing appears. It is the marital fidelity clause, which Mark asked to sign when they started their life together, that will defeat him. The clause required that if either party violated the trust, that party would bear the full financial consequences. Olivia felt a wave of power rise within her. This was the tool she would use to protect herself, and most of all, to prevent Mark from continuing to take advantage of her. She studied every detail of the contract, feeling each line like a sharp blade, cutting through all the lies he had created. Not only did Olivia protect her financial interests, but she also found the strength she had forgotten during the years of resignation. Memories of the days when she had devoted herself, sacrificed everything for her family, seemed to come back to her mind. Olivia not only had to face emotional betrayal, but also had to prove to herself that she deserved to live freely, not in the darkness of lies. She did not need sympathy or pity. She needed justice, once and for all. She knew that in order to gain the financial freedom she deserved, she had to be resilient and uncompromising. Olivia did not hesitate. Each step she took made her feel stronger. She was no longer the submissive wife in this relationship. She was a woman with rights and values and would not let anyone, not even the husband she once loved, take away everything she had built. She was determined not to let Mark take advantage of this marriage to continue living a lie. With evidence in hand, she would not only defeat him in the legal battle, but also defeat the weakness she had allowed herself to endure. With each step of preparation, Olivia not only regained power in her life, but also affirmed that no one could take away her dignity and freedom without paying a price. She had found freedom within herself, and that was something Mark would never be able to take away. First encounter at home. When Mark came home from the party, he walked in looking angry and frustrated. He seemed to think he could close things off easily. But when he saw Olivia standing firm and unwavering, his anger exploded even more. "Olivia, what are you doing? Why did you choose this time to play the lawsuit game?" His voice echoed in the quiet space of the house that had once been their home. He couldn't believe he had been pushed into this situation on their big day. But Olivia didn't panic. She stood there, calm enough to melt all the anger in him. A gentle sense of power enveloped her, as if she was in control of everything without Mark knowing. Olivia looked into his eyes, without any pity or regret. "Mark, I'm just helping you with your plan," she said, her voice not loud. But it echoed in the room like a firm statement. Mark glared at her, not understanding the meaning of her words. Olivia took her time, pulling a stack of papers from her pocket and placing them on the table in front of him with a determined look. She didn't need to say anything more. Evidence of his deception, unauthorized transfers to his personal accounts, and clear violations of the terms of the marriage contract lay quietly on the table. Everything Mark had done in the dark was now exposed in undeniable light. Mark, who had always been complacent and thought he could escape any consequences, was no longer as confident as before. His hands trembled as he slid through the pages. A feeling of dread gradually rose in his heart as he realized that everything was out of his control. The freedom he thought he would have, the life he imagined with Michelle, was now falling apart. Olivia didn't need to say another word. She just looked at him, calm and steady, as if she had won before the real fight had even begun. Mark, who had been the breadwinner, was now doomed to collapse. He felt trapped in a trap of his own making. Every excuse, every promise, was now empty talk. Olivia knew him too well. She wasn't surprised when what she found was exactly what she had suspected all along. Strange patterns in his finances, secret meetings, all leading up to this moment. It can't be, Mark muttered, but Olivia could hear the fear in his voice. He knew that the life he had tried to build on a lie was now falling apart quickly. Olivia, you can't do this to me. We've had a good life. You can't, Mark said stiffly, but his words didn't change the obvious. Olivia straightened, not taking her eyes off him. I did nothing wrong, Mark, she said, her voice calm but firm. I chose this path myself, and now we're going to go down this path together. It wasn't a threat, but a confident, powerful statement. The silence stretched between them as Mark, the man who once thought he could control everything, was faced with a reality he couldn't escape. Olivia didn't need to do anything more. It was clear, and she knew that her life would no longer depend on his lies. She was ready to step into a new life, no longer as Mark's wife, but as herself, stronger and more independent than ever. Bankruptcy plan. Olivia could no longer afford to live in the dark. She knew that Mark had not only betrayed her, but also her family. But the truth she discovered made her heart stop. The conversations that Mark had thought would be kept secret, the plans for a new life with Michelle, were now carefully recorded by Olivia. Every word, every sigh on that tape was proof of his cruel betrayal. Olivia was no longer afraid, no longer hesitant. She was ready to bring it all to light, and the tape was the ultimate weapon she would use to end this story. When Olivia made the tape public, everything changed. Mark could not justify anything. Every lie, every cover-up, everything was exposed. The whole room was silent, but in that silence, Mark was the one under siege. He stood there pale, his eyes bewildered as if he couldn't believe that everything he had done all this time was now irrefutable evidence. Olivia didn't need to say anything more. The tape said it all. But that wasn't enough. A more powerful blow was coming. An unexpected figure from Mark's past entered the story, an old friend Olivia didn't expect. This person had been Mark's best friend, but couldn't stand the lies and deceit Mark had committed. This friend had kept quiet for years, but when he finally learned the truth, he decided to stand by Olivia. With this friend's appearance, Mark's wrongdoings were brought to light once again. He had not only betrayed Olivia, but also deceived everyone around him, including those who had once trusted and helped him. A feeling of helplessness spread through Mark as his old friend stood up and provided more important information, details that Mark had thought he had buried in the past. Everything, every lie, every secret that Mark had hidden could no longer be kept secret. The recording and his friend's testimony were mortal wounds that Mark could not heal. He tried to open his mouth, but his words seemed stuck in his throat, unable to come out. Olivia stood there, not showing joy or gloating, but only the determination and strength that she had kept hidden for so long. This was not about revenge, but about justice, about getting back what she deserved. She had endured for so long that when faced with this betrayal, she was not afraid. She did not even feel a bit of regret or pain anymore. The secrets that Mark thought would follow him to the grave are now revealed, and Olivia is the one who brings them to light. Mark has no escape. What he has done is now a stain that cannot be washed away, and Olivia, with unwavering confidence, knows that she has regained control of her life. Not through anger, but through calm and determination, Olivia has completely won this battle. Her revenge is not just the end of her painful relationship with Mark, but the beginning of a new life where she will never have to live under the shadow of a betrayed man again. The truth revealed and the relationship from the past. The situation became tense when Olivia received news from Mark's old friends that Cassandra, his lover, had moved all her belongings into the apartment that Mark had paid for her. It was a high-end apartment located right in the city center, an ideal place for the new life that Mark had envisioned for himself and Cassandra. The news did not surprise Olivia, but the fact that Mark dared to go so far, even deceiving his family and friends, made her feel like she was standing on the edge of a game that her opponent had never anticipated. She did not let her anger take over, but quickly switched to a state of observation and calculation. Olivia had long suspected Mark's financial ability, especially after discovering the money he had transferred to his personal account. His moves seemed carefully arranged, But Olivia was not someone who was easily fooled. She decided to check the details of the apartment lease that Mark had signed for Cassandra, and when she opened the file, a surprising truth appeared. The apartment lease had not been completed. Everything, all the plans that Mark had thought were perfectly prepared, began to crack. Olivia wasted no time in taking action. She immediately contacted the real estate leasing office and discovered that Mark and Cassandra's contract had not been officially signed, and there was not enough money that Mark had committed to complete the transaction. She promptly terminated the lease, blocking all the next steps that Mark and Cassandra had calculated. Olivia's decision was like a strong slap in the face to the plan that Mark had drawn up. She not only protected her assets, but also cut off the future plans that Mark had dreamed of building with Cassandra. When Mark received the news that the apartment could not be completed, the complacency on his face disappeared, replaced by confusion and bewilderment. He had always been proud of the control he had of the careful preparations for his new life, but now, everything had collapsed in the blink of an eye. He could not understand why things were not as he had calculated. A feeling of helplessness enveloped Mark as he realized that Olivia, the wife he had once despised, was now in control of everything. Olivia did not say another word. She did not need to prove anything. Her every move said it all. She was no longer a resigned woman, but had become a proactive one, a person who was steadfast in her decisions. The plans that Mark had thought were solid were now the failures that he had to face. Olivia did not need to do anything more, just let Mark feel his own failure. When she looked at Mark, she saw only a helpless man, without the strength to continue pursuing the life he had planned. Meanwhile, Olivia, with a calm and powerful presence, knew that she had achieved an important victory. She had not only stopped Mark's plans, but had also proven that no one could control her life, not her cheating husband, nor anyone else. Olivia had taken back the power of her own life, and this time, no one could take that freedom away. She had done what Mark could never have imagined, made decisive and strong decisions, not only to protect herself, but to rebuild a more worthy life for herself. Court and Justice. On the day of the divorce hearing, Olivia entered the courtroom with a surprising calmness. Everything had been carefully prepared, every piece of evidence, every statement had been carefully selected by Olivia. Facing her was Mark, the man she had loved and trusted for 28 years. But now, he was no longer the husband she once respected. In the trial, everything Mark had done in the dark, his deceitful acts and his violation of the prenuptial agreement, were brought to light. And Olivia, with her unwavering resilience, had enough weapons to win. When the court announced the decision to enforce the prenuptial agreement that Mark had signed, a feeling of relief but strong overwhelmed Olivia. This was not only a financial victory, but also a reaffirmation of her freedom and control over her own life. The court decided to stop all the joint finances that Mark had withdrawn and to keep the house and the retirement accounts for Olivia. What she had sacrificed over the years, the sweat and tears, was now recognized and protected. Mark stood there, stunned, empty-handed, with nothing left of him. There was nothing he could do to change the court's decision. The life he had thought he had planned with Cassandra was now completely shattered. All his hopes of a new life, free of control, free of constraints, were now a pipe dream. The money he had cheated, the plans he had drawn up, all were extinguished by the power of justice. Olivia did not show any excessive joy, but in her eyes there was a confidence, a pride that she had regained after years of living in the dark. This was a complete victory for her, not only financially, but also spiritually. She had not only protected the fortune she had built, but had also regained the freedom she deserved. This freedom was not a gift, but the result of all the decisions she had made, of the strength she had shown throughout this arduous journey. Olivia left the courtroom with a soft but determined smile. The battle was over, but for her, this was only the beginning. She was no longer the woman who had been betrayed and suffered, but the one who had taken charge of her own life. She was no longer dependent on anyone, no longer living in the shadow of a man who had deceived her. Olivia was now herself again, strong, free, and ready to step into a new life. While Mark stood there empty-handed and without any choice, Olivia walked away with unshakable confidence. She won, not just for financial reasons, but because she won over herself, dared to step out of her painful past to build a future she deserved. The freedom Olivia achieved cannot be traded, and it is the most precious gift she has won. New beginnings and bright future. After the trial, Olivia clearly felt that her life had turned a new chapter, no longer a betrayed wife, no longer a woman dragged along by the fragments of the past. She was free, and with that freedom, Olivia began to rebuild her life from the first bricks. She opened a financial consulting company, a company specializing in helping women going through difficult times in life. This was not just a job, but a mission, a way for Olivia to share her experiences with other women, helping them find their own strength, just like she did. Her company grew strongly, day by day, month by month, and Olivia proved her superior ability in the financial field, not only with her knowledge, but also with the deep empathy she had for her clients. Her steps were no longer doubtful, no longer fearful. She knew she was doing the right thing, and more than that, she found a new purpose in life. A new partner, Thomas, a man who not only understood her work, but also understood her, came to Olivia as a solid support. Thomas had always supported her from the difficult early days, helping her see not only her work, but also a brighter future. This new relationship not only helped Olivia stabilize her emotionally, but also was an important factor in rebuilding her career foundation. Thomas was not a replacement for Mark, but a person who helped Olivia realize that she deserved love, care, and a truly healthy relationship. While Olivia was entering a new and promising future, Mark was still struggling with failure. His life was now completely different, no longer the man who had it all, no longer respected by friends and family. Instead, there were criticisms and judgments from all those who once believed in him. Mark, who once thought he would escape all consequences, now faces the bitter reality. The plans he built with Cassandra have collapsed. Not only are his finances ruined, but his relationships with those close to him are also gone. What he thought he had achieved is now just a pile of rubble. Olivia no longer looks at Mark's failures with anger or resentment. She has gone through a lot of suffering and is strong enough not to let other people's failures affect her anymore. Every step Olivia takes now is a steady step forward, not only because she has rebuilt her life, but because she has found herself again, a strong, confident woman, and never lets anyone or anything dim the light in her life. Olivia's story is not just a journey of overcoming adversity, but a powerful affirmation that no matter what life throws at us, if we are resilient enough, brave enough to stand up and keep going, things will change. Olivia did it, and now she is in control of her own life, no longer bound by the past. She has not only won financially, but she has won herself, taken back her power, and created the future she deserves.